the media studios in the heart of First Methodist Church in Waco, Texas. This is Faith in Real Life and your hosts, Brooke, Stephanie, and Hannah.
Welcome to Faith in Real Life. My name is Stephanie, and I am here with Brooke and Hannah. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very happy with your preference. If this is your first time watching or listening to our podcast, please consider subscribing. This episode is going to be a little different. Instead of talking about a new topic, we're looking back on everything we've experienced this season. We've talked about insecurity, anxiety, social media, Lent, service, faith, pressure, community, and what it means to follow Jesus in real life. Today, we want to reflect on how we've grown, what we've learned, the people who have helped us along the way, and where we believe God is leading us next. So, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. What has surprised you about doing a podcast?
It was really cool because I came into doing the podcast with a lot of assumptions. I thought it was going to be really easy. All you have to do is push a couple buttons, then you're done. But when we actually started doing our first podcast, it was really cool because I got to see how everything worked. There are so many cool on-screen talents that have been sitting in these chairs. There are so many awesome people behind the scenes, and it's really cool how you might go into something with a bunch of assumptions, but then everything gets flipped backwards and you see how awesome it actually goes.
Yeah. What surprised me about doing a podcast is just how open people are and how much they want to talk about their faith, how much they've grown, and it's just been really cool to see how my friends have done that through this podcast. What surprised you about doing a podcast?
What surprised me was I thought it was going to be really hard to be in front of a camera, and it's actually not that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. How has your confidence in talking about your faith changed?
I feel like it's easier to talk to people that don't follow Jesus now because I've just going to church my whole life and grown up here, and it's really easy to just talk about it.
Yeah, so would you say that your confidence has increased?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. What about you?
Okay, so I used to get terrified of talking to people about Jesus, and I don't really know why, but when I started doing the podcast and I really started to understand what sermons meant and I actually started to understand them, it became a whole lot easier to understand it, and I've become so much more confident in inviting people to church or telling them about VBS.
I think my confidence has definitely improved. I was able at the Dewey to talk with so many people about the love that Jesus has, and I think that in turn has grown my own faith. Okay, so what do you think makes student voices valuable in conversations about faith?
I feel like it's really good to see how students feel about things. It's very helpful to know their ideas and how they feel about everything.
Yeah. Do you think that you've impacted people that are older than you with your faith? I know you're in confirmation, so you've probably had a lot of talks about that recently.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What do you think makes students' voices valuable?
A lot of people, I feel like, they would listen to the mature, maybe older teenagers, or they would listen to the adults, which have obviously lived longer and have more wisdom. But just because they've lived longer and they've gone through more experiences doesn't mean they always have the right answer. Students, they're being taught a lot of new things, so they might have a new, better understanding, which can open up somebody's eyes towards a new faith.
Let me remind you to not doubt yourselves because you are young, but God is teaching you so much in these years. All right, I want to give a really quick shout out to Mr. Stavros. He's made this entire podcast happen, and he's also all the people behind the scenes, the people sitting in these chairs. They make this podcast happen. So, what's something Mr. Stavros has taught you about podcasting, production, media, or communication?
I feel like he's taught me a whole lot. Again, I came into this podcast with a whole bunch of expectations, but then when I actually met him and I found out he taught me, we had just finished our Wednesday night youth, and I came in here and he taught me a whole bunch of stuff. And the main job he taught me is a TD, which is a technical director, which is the person who changes the screens. And when he actually taught me how to do it, it was so cool because I thought, I'm actually going to be doing this. And he's just an awesome person to me, and he's pretty cool.
I think Mr. Stavros has really shown me that there is a market for communication, and I feel like we all got to see that at the Baylor trip. We got to see people doing that work in action, and that just, it was really cool to see that in real life.
I feel like he taught me to like be in front of the camera and just have fun with it and not be so scared. Because when I started getting on camera, I was super scared because I had never been on camera before, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna do this. And then I did it, and I was fine.
Yeah.
I feel like before you actually go on camera, you have all these scary thoughts that, what if I sneeze, or what if I do something wrong? But when you actually get on there, it almost feels kind of relaxing or something, because you're like, oh, all I'm having is a conversation. I do those on the daily. It's not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we have a question from the control room.
What's your favorite Stavros moment from this season?
Ooh, okay. When we were having one of the after podcast conversations, and he was explaining the necessities to be the talent / the on-screen people, or to be the behind-the-scenes people. And he pointed out, because he had worked with Louisa before, and he had known some of us, like, usually there's somebody called usually Cade Busby's on here, and he had gone up to him and he said, Cade, remember posture. And I kept cracking up because every time Cade was slouched down and get all comfy, or his hat was slumped down, every time he would say, Cade, posture, hurry. And it was hilarious.
I think just him, like, putting us in our right places and making sure everything's good to go.
You know, I don't think I can choose a singular moment because there are so many that come to mind. That he's just such a fun and amazing person that I've had the opportunity to know. Why do you think it matters that a church gives students the opportunities to lead?
I think it's really important to give students a chance to lead, because if you don't give them a chance to lead, how are they supposed to mature in their leading? Like, if you never let somebody talk about their faith next to somebody who might not have a church home or might not actually know about Jesus, if you don't let them talk to them and mature in their talking about Jesus, then how are they supposed to ever grow? It's like giving a plant no sun or no water. It's not going to do anything.
Giving students a chance to lead helps them to, like, grow more in their faith, so they can show others how they've grown, and just, like, giving them a chance to lead is really helpful.
I think that when a church gives students opportunities to lead, they are giving them an opportunity to grow in their faith. And I think that's really important, because if they never have that, how will they ever have that going down the road? How will they ever lead when they go into, like, a family? How will they do that with their children one day?
That's true.
What do you hope listeners take away from faith in real life?
I hope that they take away, like, some of the things that we've experienced. I hope that they can grow from that, and I hope that it helps them to understand.
Yeah.
I hope I really hope that there might be like a family watching with maybe a couple teenagers, and they might feel more comfortable going to church, or they might see church a different way. Like, I know some people might, or some kids might see church as in, no, my parents are just making me go to this, or this is just super boring and it's only meant for adults. But no, there are so many different ways that children can participate in church, and I feel like it's really important to grow up in church. I have my whole life, and it's made a world of difference looking at things, because with different eyes and church eyes, you can see a whole bunch of different things.
I hope that people really see the love that Jesus has for us through this podcast, that we can live out our faith in our real lives, and that church isn't just some building we go to Sunday or Wednesdays. It's actually part of us, and it's who we are as Christians. Now we have a question from the control room.
What is one thing that God taught you?
I feel like he taught me to be patient. I'm not always very patient with some people, but I feel like God has helped me to be a little bit more patient.
Yeah.
God has definitely taught me to be more patient, and in different ways. It's not just like your classic patience where you're like waiting in line for food at a carnival and you're like, oh, I'm so hungry. Oh, that looks so good. But no, it's like patience to where you can be really looking forward to stuff, but you aren't eager. You can wait and you can find other stuff to do it. Or you can pray to God to say, please just let this time go by, or different things like that.
In Acts 2, it talks about how there was a fellowship of believers, and I really feel like God has taught me through this podcast that community is valuable, and the friends and people that you meet at church are not just people at church, but they're part of the body of Christ, and it's important to abide in that because they also have God in them, and it's important to talk and commune with people because they know God, and it's important to learn from them and to hear their stories, to hear what they have to say. So, as we close, I want to thank you for joining us for Season 1 of Faith in Real Life. We've laughed together, we've learned together, we've wrestled with hard questions together. But most importantly, we've tried to grow together as followers of Jesus. So thank you again to everyone who has listened, encouraged us, prayed for us, and supported us. We'll see you next season. Until then, keep living your faith in real life.
Good job.
Thank you.